Okay, I'm going to stand here so you can see the slides rather than me. And so I know I wrote up on the website what each week was going to be, but I've had to change it as the weeks have gone along, just because of my own thought processes in relation to this material. So I've decided to call this week the poetics of transformation, and I hope that will become clear why I have to use that term. So what we're going to be looking at this evening is that we have this Buddha Mandala, which is really, it's a depiction of the states of being that arise out of wisdom. So the Buddhas really are, even the shrine here, Shakyamuni, the Buddha sits here, but sitting, if you like, behind or within, or he arising out of, actually arises out of wisdom. So the body is more the kind of active end of liberation, but what we're trying to get to is what is driving, what is kind of, what's the factor that's giving rise to the Buddhas. I hope that will become clear as we go through. So just trying to distinguish between, if you like, the active side of liberation, the active side of enlightenment, and this the wisdom that underpins the enlightened mind. So just to say that I really would like you to take these words. I'm trying to speak to you as poetic. So I'm not offering this evening an operating manual of how to get from your current state or our current state, which I presume is at least kind of coloured by some extent by the poisons, and that we're moving towards wisdom. So unfortunately those steps are not something that is going to be it's not prescriptive. It's more intuitive. It's more in the nature of a response. So I'm trying to evoke something, evoke this connection to wisdom, and what I said here, it's really the end of the talk, really. So I'm trying to kind of evoke something poetic. But actually nothing can be said about wisdom, because it's beyond concept. It's beyond anything that we can frame, anything that we can contain in certainly in this form of communication, in language. It's all we can do is try to point towards, evoke something. Which I feel is the nature of poetry. It's not. It's trying to evoke a response in the moment. So that's all I can do tonight. I'll try to evoke some sense of wisdom in the moment. So we have the Buddha Mandala, and actually the Buddha Mandala is sort of depicted as these 5 separate figures. But actually, each of those Buddha figures has a whole family of different Buddhas surrounding them, different forms that create or evoke particular qualities. So even though we're just talking about 5 primary figures tonight, actually there is a myriad of different forms, each manifesting in what we describe as families, in the 4 directions of space and at the heart of things. So there's these 5 families. And these families are manifestations rising out of wisdom. And I really want to emphasize that wisdom is is more a shift in perception rather than location. I think, unfortunately, I say this because I think some of the ways that you have sometimes depicted the wheel of life being on one level, and then you have the Buddha Mandala, which is usually depicted above, sitting above the wheel of life. So there's a sort of spatial splitting between the what are called the poisons and the depictions of the wisdoms. But actually, I think that's a false. It's not very helpful as an image. So what I'm suggesting is that what changes is we're still going to be sitting here, whether we are absorbed in our poisons, we're kind of bound by our poisons, or whether we are actually living out of wisdom. It's all that changes is our perception of the situation. Nothing will change. Sometimes the enlightened state is described as ordinary awareness. That is kind of seemed to be the pinnacle, or is that we transition through various experiences, but we end back into this normal awareness. But our perception of this situation has been transformed. So that's really what we are working with. And the other thing to say is, which I think is another one of my, is it a hobby horse? Something I like to get onto on a regular basis. So enlightenment's not anywhere else, it's right here. The other thing is that wisdom, or the liberated state, is actually something which is not eternal. So we don't get to heaven. We don't just arrive in this blissful place where we're sitting in this kind of glory at the right hand of whoever it is. So wisdom is not an eternal state. It's something that has to be renewed ongoingly. It arises in the moment out of our responsiveness. So there's the perception which informs our responses. So this is what we're working towards, is trying to affect our perception of this. So we're, and that is something that is ongoing. So I really love this image. So this is a labyrinth which is on the floor of Chartres Cathedral in northern France. And it's what I like about it is that, to me, it really evokes something of the spiritual path, the spiritual life. As we probably know in our own experience, what we tend to do is circle round and over again similar material. And what we're trying to do in that journey of circling is actually we gradually are drawing towards the kind of the heart of wisdom. But we can't just dive straight for the centre. We will circle. And we are trying to become fully awake, ever present in our circling. And through circling around and around the same material, gradually we refine that material. We gradually transform that material from being bound in the poisons to gradually starting to release more into the possibility of acting more trusting our responsiveness, trusting our intuition, trusting that kind of direct knowing that comes through simply being fully alert, alive, in awareness. So I guess this also shows again that the goal of Buddhism isn't a kind of a fixed position. It's always in movement. And yes, there is a centre, and usually in the labyrinth you go to the centre and then you traverse back out through into life again. So this is the sort of the basis of the talk tonight, is that we're going to be looking at these movement from the kind of the poisons as we know them, and how they may, through the influence, the example of the symbols of the Buddhas, how we can transform those poisons into wisdom. So you don't need to worry about this as a map, really. I just thought I'd bring that there, as I've been flagging it up every week. So it would be, I needed to show it to you again. But this is what we're going to be looking at tonight: this transformation of the poisons into wisdoms. And I'm going to do that by going through each of the figures, and saying a little bit about them and how the transformation takes place. So we're starting, as I said before, we are looking at all the directions of space, and each of the Buddha figures are located in one direction of space. So we're going to start with looking towards the east, where we have Akshobhya. Akshobhya's wisdom is described as the mirror-like wisdom. And in the depictions of this figure, Akshobhya, the mudra or the gesture is of touching the earth. So this is in itself quite a significant gesture, that actually, as we do in our meditation practice, as we're being encouraged to do, we come down to earth. We touch into our actual experience. And we also, through the image, the Vajra, which is again on the shrine there, and we have talked about the Vajra in week 3, so I'm not going to open that up again, but the Vajra is held to the heart. So this is the whole of the Eastern realm. Its influence is said to be the family of the Vajra. And the wisdom that's associated with Akshobhya is associated with the water element. So water, as we know, it tends to percolate down. So although it seems very kind of, when you see a trickle of water, it doesn't seem to have much power, much force. But actually, if you look at water, the way it carves out through rock, in its kind of movement down through rock, it creates caverns, it creates whole valleys. The whole geology of the landscape is affected by the course of water. This water always travelling downwards, reaching down into the depths. So water does come to stillness, and this is where the mirror-like wisdom comes in. As water becomes still and clear, it acts like a mirror. But within that stillness, there's always this potential for fluidity and flow. So this is the movement and the image of water that's associated with Akshobhya. And Akshobhya's energy or wisdom transforms hatred. So the process of transformation is that we remain in the precision and clarity of hatred. Maybe you've never experienced hatred. If you have, you might know something about that. The the precision of hatred, the desire or the seeing so clearly of something which we are kind of in opposition to. So the main thing that we do is that we try to remain with that clarity, that precision, but we unhook from the identification with the experience as being something that's happening to us, that we are engaged in. So we unstick and we drop this sense of self and other. This is really the task of Buddhist practice, is that sense of building a sense of interdependence, interweaving, interconnection with all life. So hatred is obviously a very strong sense of polarization with the other. We are in opposition, or they appear to be in opposition to us. So we really have to work to unstick that sense of othering. And the way that we do that, if we follow Akshobhya, is that we soak down, we step back, so there's almost a physical sense of stepping out of the conflict and just allowing ourselves to soak down into the layers of our being. The more that we can step back and into those layers, just allow our awareness to soak down through us, we broaden awareness and we become as vast as the ocean. And in that broadening out, that enlarging of awareness, we unstick from the point of conflict and we recognise, we see ourselves and the other in this vast ocean of awareness. So we allow that space of the water to become still and we drop down into this larger kind of space. And if we're in that larger field of attention, that larger field of awareness, then things do not disturb us. Events, actions just pass through. This is why it's described as a mirror. So we see the things clearly, but they don't stick. Like the surface of the mirror, the events, the arisings are simply seen clearly and pass out of the mirror freely, without being gripped, without getting stuck in our selfing and othering. So the Bhadra that I referred to in week 3 is really important symbol for this process. So each of the central area here is said to be the heart of this symbol, and we can imagine holding the Bhadra, and at the centre of that Bhadra is a still, deep lake. So this is really the gift, if you like, of Akshobhya, is that it gives us this possibility of making contact with the stillness of the lake, the ocean as you might describe it, which gives us the capacity to move out of hatred. So that's the first one, but we have another 4 to go. So is that okay? That's the kind of process that we're going to go through. Mm-hmm. So as always, if you say, not sure about that, please do say something and we can try to clarify it. So this is Akshobhya, and we move from Akshobhya to, and we're now moving round to the south, and we're looking at Ratnasambhava. So Ratnasambhava has this wisdom, is called the equalizing wisdom, or the wisdom of sameness. So the mudra the gesture of Ratnasambhava. As you can see, Ratnasambhava has an open hand of generosity. So it's this giving equally to all beings. And in the palm of the other hand, in the lap, is the wish-fulfilling jewel. So this radiance that arises from Ratnasambhava as is in touch with this equalizing wisdom. So everything is being shined on equally. So there's a sense of the jewel is luminous, radiant, and this sense of transparency shining on us all. And it's also Ratnasambhava's associated with the earth element, which I'm not sure I get that, so I can't say much about that. But that I'll just let you know that it's associated with earth, and I suppose one could say that the earth is the kind of benefactor of us all, kind of nourishes, sustains us all equally. But the other thing that I wanted to just mention is a symbol of Indra's net. So Indra's net I find a really beautiful symbol. So it's a net of jewels. So each jewel, at every intersection of the net, there's a jewel. And in every jewel, every other jewel in that whole net is reflected equally. So there's just this web of interconnectedness, interdependence, which we are all participating in. So there is this sense of sameness in that we all have the same experiences, we all have we can see each other, we can see ourselves in each other through looking clearly into the jewel, receiving the jewel. So what we're doing here is we are looking to transform attachment in the southern realm. So what tends to happen with attachment is that we like this piece here, this is the bit we want, and we're not that interested in everything else. So we're separating out parts of our experience and becoming very attached to aspects of our experience. So this creates what I'm describing as a tyranny of comparison. This over that, this is mine, this is yours, this isn't anything to do with me. And this is really breaking down the sense of the equality of all life. That we are trying to carve out a little niche of permanence and stability, ongoing pleasure, of course. And we do that by detaching, by separating out from the world, grabbing after bits that we become attached to. And this is the work that we have to this is the work, become less attached to parts of our experience. I'm slightly hesitating because I've got the next element that we come round to. I'm going to be duplicating some of the things I'm saying there. So, but anyway, let's stay with this slide. So what we are looking at is how can we let go of this sense of being attached to particular aspects of our being, of ourself, of our identity, and how can we just allow ourselves to settle back and see things as this sort of shared collective life, the communality with all life. One of the main aspects is that this attachment, we tend to make ourselves special. It's only me that has these particular experiences. It's only me that suffers in this way. But actually, when we look out, we're all in our own ways suffering. We're all seeking love. We're all seeking ease. We're all seeking health. These are the things that we commonly are seeking out. And the more we get a sense of that, our common or shared experience, it makes it possible to have an empathic connection with others. Empathy comes out of Ratnasambhava's wisdom of equality. So we come down to earth here, this common ground where we're all sitting, where we all live in this precious life. And I would say that Ratnasambhava, what he really points towards in terms of a wisdom, is recognising that Sangha, community, is really key to the transformation of attachment. That by actually engaging in Sangha, engaging in shared projects, shared vision, we move out of separation and recognise that we are doing something for each other and for the world. So Sangha is very much epitomises the wish-fulfilling jewel. So the heart of the Bhadra this time I see as a radiant jewel. This jewel radiating out equality, sameness for all life, all experience. Coming round, we now come towards the western realm of Amitabha. So Amitabha's wisdom sometimes is described as discriminating awareness. But that sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? So discerning difference is the way I would try to articulate this quality of this wisdom. That actually it's able to notice the differences between every unique experience. And it can recognise the particular qualities of every experience with great precision. And the Amitabha is associated with fire, and he carries this bowl. Actually, I put down begging bowl. I realise that's really more to do with attachment. But anyway, he carries the begging bowl, and that bowl is a bowl of fire. So what we're celebrating here is that there is discernment, seeing difference, but we're able to withdraw, or kind of, we are containing that fire of addiction. And we do that through meditative awareness. So this awareness that I've been kind of encouraging, particularly the awareness through the body, awareness of feelings, awareness of mental activity. This is all gives us this capacity to really discern that which is helpful and supportive, and that which is leading us further into addictive patterns. So what we're trying to do in this transformation of addiction is we are trying to firstly acknowledge that which really can't satisfy us. So softening to that which can't satisfy us. Now there's so many things that we could be talking about when it comes to addiction. But we can be addicted to particular functions, particular ways of being in relationship. We might be addicted to following a particular religious tradition. We certainly get addicted to possessions and to views. But how can we find amongst this kind of huge, vast display, this abundance of differing experiences, how can we find that which really nourishes, that which really kind of supports us in our liberation? So this is what we're looking for, is being able to discern that which satisfies, really satisfies, and that which simply tries to mask was, in my experience, it's to do with there's this empty hole in my being, which I try to cover over through addictive behaviour. And that hole is needing something. So it's what is it that will really nourish, really will kind of give sustenance to that empty space in my being. So this is what we're trying to discern through really engaging fully with our actual experience. What is it that really nourishes this hole? Anybody else have a hole in their being? This is, most of us have this experience. So this is what we're, and unfortunately we're not really given much training in how to meet that deep need. So this is what we're trying to offer through the Dharma, through Sangha. We're trying to find the conditions, what really nourishes us. And one of the things is making this shift, sort of described as from Pema to Metta. So Pema, what this term means, is a conditional love. So if you give me this, I'll love you if you give me these experiences. But as soon as you stop giving me what I need, then I'll reject you. Whereas metta is unconditional. So there's no sense of I'll love you today as long as you feel this hole, but actually this love is limited. So we practice the metta bhavana, this practice of loving kindness, because that really is kind of the root, I feel for myself, of that which really nourishes this empty space. It's love that really fills that space. And Pema is a kind of clear, close enemy to this experience. It's this conditional response to that which we think will support our filling that hole. So we are looking through this transformation of addiction as a complete burning up to needing things to be a particular way, needing another to be a particular way, burning up of even this sense of self and other, which in love is seen to be completely illusory. So this is the transformation of addiction. So this heart of the Vajra is a bowl of illuminating fire. So through this fire, through the fire of addiction, we really look into that fire. We can feel that emptiness, but we can also feel that which starts to really nourish our being. We can really feel the nourishment that we can discover through discernment, through this discerning awareness. Now we come to the northern realm. So we are here in the realm of Amoga Siddhi, the all-accomplishing wisdom. So Amoga Siddhi is associated with the air element, and although I haven't got the image here, what I really like about Amoga Siddhi is that he's actually usually, I showed you an image of a Garuda at the end of last week, this winged being, winged half animal, half human, half bird, that can fly through space. And Amoga Siddhi is usually often depicted as sitting in a chariot being pulled through the sky by these, they're called Shang birds actually, but they're relatives of the Garudas. And they're clashing the symbols of liberation as they fly through the sky. And Amoga Siddhi, you can see his, I think it's actually the right hand, is in the gesture of fearlessness. So this is the greatest gift. It's said that the Buddha said that the greatest gift that we can give somebody is fearlessness. So fear, as you know, kind of cripples us, keeps us small, keeps us limited. So to have this confidence, to recognise that we can achieve, we have the tools, we have the capacity, the potential to achieve our full human potential. Amoga Siddhi gives us this through the gesture of fearlessness. And he holds not just a single Bhadra, he holds the double Bhadra, the Vishva Bhadra as it's sometimes called. So the double Bhadra, which is two interlocking Bhadras. And Amoga Siddhi sees the potential for liberation in all beings and radiates confidence and trust for us all. We have everything we need. And this is brings about the transformation of envy. So envy we tend to put ourselves above or below others. I'm just a miserable worm, or I'm fantastic. But that kind of splitting out is actually, Amoga Siddhi says you don't need to carry on playing those games. You have everything you need. So this, if we went back to the Wheel of Life, you remember that in the realm where envy is manifesting is the Ashuras are trying to cut down the tree of knowledge. So they're using brute force to try to chop down the tree to gain the experiences, the fruits that the gods are plucking freely from the tree. And Akshobhya is saying you don't need to hack and chop at the tree. If you just settle, you've got everything you need right here. You don't need to be forcing your way into other realms. You don't need to be forcing your experience. Simply have confidence in your own experience, in your own potential. And this again means that we simply need to open and relax in awareness. I say simple. If it was simple, of course, we would be liberated. But for some reason, we kind of grip around particular ways of being. We haven't quite got this experience of fearlessness, that we're constantly trying to improve ourselves and change ourselves so that we'll get to where we think we should be. But Amoga Siddhi is saying, actually, where you are right now, everything you need, everything you have, right here is sufficient if you simply really fully enter into it. In this experience, you have the means and the capacity for liberation. So in Buddhism, we have this idea that we live life after life. We revolve through life after life. And the fact that we are here in a human form and that we've actually met the Dharma is said to be incredibly rare and precious thing. That not only have we come into this life, actually it's even more unusual and rare. We actually have the leisure and the opportunity to be, to come here, to meet the Dharma, to practice the Dharma. And this is not the case for so many beings. We don't have to look far out into the world to see the desperate state of so much of humanity. Yet here we are. We have this, the means and the capacity for liberation. So Moga City is inviting us to really make best use of this precious and rare opportunity, these precious conditions that we find ourselves in. So of course the Bhadra in the realm of the Moga City, the heart of the Bhadra invokes fearlessness. Fearlessness. And then finally, we come to the central realm. So at the centre of the four directions of space, we have Varochna. So Varochna is said to be the illuminating source of all wisdom. Sometimes it's called the realm of the Dharma, the Dharmakaya, but this is the realm of Varochna. And it's associated with space, and the gesture of Varochna sometimes is seen, his hands symbolise the turning of the wheel of the Dharma. I've used a symbol here, an image of Varochna, more being as this sphere of potentiality, with the rainbow light of all the other Buddha figures emanating out from this central sphere of space. So Varochna symbolises this space of potentiality. It's sometimes described as the womb of all wisdom. So this is where all wisdom arises out of this open space at the centre of the mandala. And what we are doing here is we are working to transform ignorance. And what we do to get to wisdom is that we behead the conceptualizing mind. So this is, as many of you will know, that our ideas, our thought processes are the very things that, although they're really seductive and attractive, actually they tend to keep us out of true wisdom. It's almost, if we can't understand it, if we can't articulate it, then it has no value. And this is really one of the most crippling aspects of our current society, is that the mind is given such weight and value in our society that actually other ways of knowing, other ways of being, seem to be undervalued. We're not taught, for instance, at school, how to trust our body's knowing, our feeling responses to experience. All we're being given is these kind of mental constructs, these concepts that are apparently are going to be all that we need. But as we know, understanding our emotional life, understanding our physical responsiveness is of equal value and importance. So we're trying to transform, as I say, we're trying to behead the conceptualizing mind and come down into a richer source of knowing. And just to really give that full weight, it's said that if we really we only know one line of the Dharma, but we fully practiced it, that is more precious than knowing, being able to spout countless texts and sutras, countless bits of information, if you like. If we could really live with the one line of Dharma, that would be sufficient. And the final thing about transformation is that, as with the other factors, they all arise out of this space of the blue sky of awareness. This is really the heart of what we're trying to do, is to really explore the nature of awareness itself. So feelings, thoughts, even the kind of the knowing mind is arising in awareness out of this blue sky. And this is where we're trying to move into through our meditation, through our reflection, through our exploration of our being. We're trying to discover that blue sky is actually here in our awareness. It's simply obscured so often by the poisons. So the heart of the Bhadra is really the clear blue sky.